What's going on, guys? The time has finally come. I am beyond so stoked for this. We are finally building the computer, my dream PC with an asterisk there, unfortunately, with the whole release of NVIDIA 50 series graphics cards. I haven't been able to get my hands on one. That's alright. It is what it is. We've got a placeholder card in the meantime, but we've got a killer computer to be putting together for you guys to help build and grow the channel, help build and raise the quality of the content for the channel. I know it's something a little bit different than what you guys are used to seeing here with the gaming stuff, but I'm super excited for this, so I figured I want to bring you guys along for the ride with this. So just a massive thank you to you guys, because a lot of this is because of you guys as well. Supporting the channel and everything, I'm able to actually do this. I know a lot of this has come out of my own pocket for the build, but nonetheless, and like I said, you guys have been a big support of the channel for the last, 15, 16 months. So we are getting into this finally. We're going to start out things by going over all the parts, kind of a little bit of why I chose what I chose, and get into everything from there. So really excited for that. Got our tools over here. Pretty simple screwdriver. Got our knife to open stuff up. I'm using one of these. I live in a pretty humid climate. Most of you guys know I live in Florida. Probably don't need it, but maybe a little bit overkill. But with high-end quality, expensive components, better safe than sorry with that. So definitely rather much rather use that. So without further ado, let's get into some of the core components of this. So for starters, we've got the Intel. Yeah. Sorry guys, this is the first ever time doing this, but we've got the Intel. Oh geez, okay. We got the Intel 285K. I actually picked this up. I was kind of deciding between this and some of the new AMD, either the 9800 X3D CPU or the new 9950 X3D that's coming out. That's still not released yet. I got a crazy good deal on this CPU and the motherboard, so which you guys will see here in just a moment. But figured we'd go ahead, pick this up. Great for content creation. Pretty good for gaming still, but I will say it gets beat out by AMD. But the benefit that we get for this for the creation side of things is it overpowers the whole gaming stuff. Anyways, so I'm gonna try to box this back up. Not gonna go too well. That's okay. But I hope the audio is okay, guys. Sorry, I am running. I've got actually a GoPro, which you guys are gonna see some footage from that running, as well as my phone. That's the only mics I have right now, and the room is not very well sound treated, short of the sound panels you guys can see behind me. But yeah, so not the greatest audio probably, so I do apologize on that, guys. I am wanting to get some sort of extra mic that I can wear on me here to try to help bring up the audio quality, but I'm hoping that's going to be decent for at least one of them, between the phone or the GoPro with that. But all right. Anyway, so with that out of the way, that's one of the most expensive components. Very well worth it for that. Another one, just grabbing what I can grab here. I was able to get my hands on one of these. All these parts, guys, are just absolutely insanely hard to get right now. So we've got the Crucial T700 4TB PCI Gen 5 drive with this, like I said, 4TB. These are like 12,500 up and down speeds wise. So you pretty much can't beat these. Really stoked. I was able to, like I said, get my hands on one for a halfway decent price. These have gone for as much as like $700 for this exact drive. And I think I got it for around $300. So really insane with prices right now. But like I said, all these parts I've kind of been collecting a little bit slowly over some time, and really stoked on that. Honestly, one of my favorite things I'm super stoked for. So this goes alongside the Core Ultra 285K G-Skill CU DIMM RAM. It's 8400 megahertz, which if you guys know tech stuff and computer stuff, you guys know the new Core Ultra stuff runs amazing on the 285K. So really stoked to have a set of some CU DIMM RAM that's super fast with this. I don't know what it is. We're going to do some time-lapse for some of this stuff here, but just super excited for this. This is some really good-looking RAM. Honestly, super awesome with this, so really stoked to have this. I think it's going to go great with the build and everything. So I'm going to box this back up here for now. Like I said, we're just going to go over all the parts. I'm probably going to timestamp all this so you guys can skip through if you want to. But if you guys want to see me talk about all this and, like I said, why I chose what I did, this was another one. These were super hard to get my hands on. I was able to somehow get my hands on some at a reasonable price, and I'm really glad that we did that. What we have here for the motherboard. So honestly, super stoked this. I was not expecting to get a motherboard this nice. This is the Asus ROG Maximus Hero Z890. Obviously, with the Core Ultra build, you need a Z890 platform with this. And like I said, this thing is an absolute beast. It looks amazing. It's got some great overclocking features, especially with that fast RAM. Should help us out with that tremendously. So really stoked on this, and it's just a really good looking board. And I was able to pick this up on a crazy good bundle deal on Newegg. So that's another reason why I picked it up. Otherwise, I would not have gotten a board this nice. But you guys can see just an absolute killer looking board with this. This is all nice little screen in here. We got a massive heatsink for the PCI Express M.2 slot, as well as obviously our PCI Express slot for our cards, and then obviously our RAM slots. We've even got a couple extra power plugs for some overclocking, which, like I said, I'm really looking forward to. So we're going to box this back up. Obviously, we'll be getting into this here very shortly, but just wanted to go through all of this here first with you guys. So like I said, this was the one thing of the build I was really looking forward to going with just a killer card here, massive, either like a 5080, 5090, ideally 5090. I just cannot get my hands on one, unfortunately. So if any of you guys out there have a 5080 or 90 you're wanting to sell for a reasonable price, that's not crazy overpriced, let me know, DM me. But we got a 4070 Ti Super. I was actually able to get my hands on one of these at normal MSRP price. So just before they literally just before they went out of stock. But these honestly are pretty nice. It's almost a 4080. It's got 16 gigs of VRAM on it, which is exactly what the 4080s have. So should be pretty good still. Not too bad with that. Still happy with this. Like I said, not ideal, not my first choice with it, but it'll do for now at least until we can get our hands on something. So still a good looking card. It's also very, very small compared to a lot of the other 80 and 90 series cards. It's also another thing that we went a little bit overkill on. 1300 watt power supply. Again, I was expecting to have a 80 or 90 series card with this, and unfortunately, obviously, again, not able to get our hands on it. But this was the new power supply from Lian, or actually not the new, but they've got a new updated one. But this is a platinum rated as well. It's got some crazy cool looking little side connectors in here, so it makes it a lot easier for the build. We'll take a look at that here in a bit with that. And then it's got a built-in USB hub, which you guys will see, I'm sure by the thumbnail of the video, you guys can see a lot of the fans and stuff are running with this, but should help us out quite a bit with that. So really stoked with that. And then to go along with it, with the Lian theme of the build, we've got their Hydro Shift LCD cooler, which has a beautiful looking screen, IPS screen on it. I believe it's like 400, or no, it wouldn't be 400, but it's like a 480 by 480 LCD IPS screen on it. So should be really good looking with this, and it's going to complement all the fans and the case very well. Okay, and as far as all the fans, we've got all of Lian Li's fans here. It's their brand new Unifan TL wireless LCD. We got a mix between LCD, their non-LCD ones. We have a mix of their reverse blades as well as their normal ones as well to fully dress out this beautiful case that we have here. Hope you guys can see this, but it is the Lian Li 011 Dynamic Evo RGB. So we got some RGB lighting strips all along the bottom, and I believe, if I remember right, on the front side of that as well, which we got room for fans down the bottom, on the side, the top, and on the back there to complement everything. So things should be looking really good with this. I've absolutely been dreaming about using these fans in a build for the longest time, and we finally have our hands on some. And even these are honestly tricky to get. Everything right now, PC parts, is just, it's just insanely hard to get our hands on, and it's kind of crazy. So definitely really glad. Like I said, I was able to kind of get my hands on a lot of this stuff. Took a little bit of time, but we were able to with some patience and not too bad of pricing on most of the stuff. I was able to buy most of the stuff at MSRP. I will have everything linked down below for you guys. I don't know, again, what's all going to be available and what's not, because again, inventory of everything right now is kind of crazy with all of this. So I think the first thing we're going to do, actually, I'm going to start with, so we can get this up and running, is we're going to actually unbox and open up the power supply, and then we're going to get with getting our CPU installed on it, as well as our RAM, and I think our drive as well onto the motherboard. I've not tested any of this, so I don't actually know if everything works even. I really, fingers crossed, everything works, and then we'll obviously get installed in the case, start installing some of the fans and getting everything up and running with it. So let's get right on to it. Also, one really nice thing with this Lian Li power supply is it does come with a plethora of cables, everything that we need, along with actually, yes, right here. So we got one of the main 12 volt high power cables for our graphics card, and we actually have a second one we're future-proofing with that just in case we ever get a card out, like an aftermarket card that's got 2 of them, which seems like things are leaning more towards that for the future. So that might be a thing that we might need, and now we have that for the future for upgrades for that. So I was actually very surprised too. I mean, being a 1300 watt power supply, this thing is actually pretty tiny, especially considering you're only talking, we have this much room, because again, some of this is taken up by your angled power connectors as well as the USB hub in here, which we have motherboard plug, and then we have 4 extra hubs, which we actually need a bunch of these for the wireless fans that we have, which we'll get into here in a bit with all that. But again, 1300 watts in this tiny little package, especially a platinum rated power supply, really nice. Okay guys, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to plug that in, because I'm actually going to attach this to my ankle and then ground it to the power supply, and then you need to actually ground it to something, have it plugged in. So you want to be a little bit careful with that you don't go too far internally in it, but if you're going to make use of one of these, very good to have, but just be safe with it, be careful. So it looks like we got a couple of zip ties that came inside along with it. Along with, we've got this PCI Express cover, which what this is going to be for, I will show you guys actually, is inside of our bag here, we've got all of our cables, along with our nice beefy power cable. Can't remember the name for these, but obviously you need one of these to plug into the wall. So anyways, we've got some SATA power cables right here, along with our, it's going to be one of our CPU external EPS powers, more SATA, or I'm sorry, Molex cables. For that, we got more SATA. Here is our main 12 volt high power cable that we're going to be using to power our GPU. And then there should be a second one. So here's one, some of the PCI Express power. There's nice cable combs on a lot of these too. These are nice, like kind of plasticky steel, not steel, plasticky braided with that. So it's actually a really good looking cable as well. And that's going to be for all your main cables. Here is our other PCI or other 12 volt high power. It's run off of two different power connectors on the supply, where this one is its own dedicated one. This is what I was going, or I'm sorry, not this one, this guy. So your USB header, you can plug this directly into the back of your motherboard as well. And then this plugs into the splitter on the PSU itself, or you can plug it directly into a motherboard hub with that. So really nice with that. And then obviously a bunch of other cables that we got going along with it. All of them are braided that you could potentially have into the case, except your SATA ones are not. So we'll put these off to the side for now until we are ready to actually start connecting things up here together. One thing to note, guys, you don't even have to turn your power supply on. You can just leave it plugged in and powered out, the switch off, and that way you'll still be grounded out. Okay. With that done, we're going to get into our motherboard then. Start getting into our CPU and RAM. This thing is an absolute beauty. It's actually very heavy too. I was not expecting that. I have not even pulled this out of the box yet. I've only opened it up. This thing actually has some good, decent weight to it. Okay, so inside the box, we get all kinds of little accessories. I'm actually not too sure what. We got a couple of little plastic things, and I'm not too sure what they are. We've got a nice little ROG card that comes along with that. We also got an ROG bottle opener, which actually I think I'm going to make use of that. It's actually pretty sweet. And then we've got our front panel connector, little stub out header there, just in case. Most cases are kind of standardized with that now, just to plug right into your front panel connectors. We got some SATA cables. We're not going to be using any kind of SATA drives, whether it's SSDs or hard drives. Built-in Wi-Fi. We've got the USB drive here for BIOS and driver install. We've got, it looks like an ARGB header here. Looks like some sort of proprietary connector on that. I'm not too sure. It's an ARGB with what looks like a specialty connector. So I'm going to have to look at the manual for that. I'm not too sure. And then I've got, looks like a couple of different little clips here, which I think are for the M.2s, along with some of these, more of these little connectors. So yeah, that is the bulk majority. Again, we got our CPU. I have not even opened this up to see what you have going on here. A little protective cover on there to keep the retainer from coming up. Popping that on up. Lifting up. I haven't inspected any of the pins on this, but so far everything looks pretty good, so happy with that. Let's go ahead and get this all opened on up again. Okay, so again, we got our CPU. Going to be popping it out of the case here. You want to obviously be careful with it, even though there's no pins on it. All your pins are on your motherboard. And then this is keyed, so it can only go in one way with this, but you don't want to apply any bits of extra pressure to it. I'll just hold out the sides there. Just let it kind of fall into place. Make sure that your there's a couple little notches. I'm trying to do my best to show you guys this. We got a couple of little notches on the top and bottom right there. So it'll line right up with that. You're stamping on that of the CPU itself should be right side up, so when the motherboard is standing right up, you can see it with that. So now we can just go ahead and drop this back on down. Your cover will pop off just like that. This is always a little bit scary because it's like, holy crap, you got to apply a lot of pressure to get that on, but there we go. That is everything installed with that. And you're going to want to save this, keep it in your motherboard box. If you ever need to sell it, keep it covered, whatever it may be. Pulling out a CPU, you want to make sure it's covered because those pins are so delicate in there. So with our CPU installed, I think we're ready for some RAM to go on in here. And I've already looked through the manual on the motherboard. My motherboard calls for, which most of them are this way, the glass slot and the second one in from the CPU. Most of the time, that's the way they run. You want to obviously check on with your motherboard for specific instructions on that, but should be good with that. Yeah, this is some good looking RAM, and again, these are slotted, so they will only go in one way. With this, just simply pop open your clips, just like that, and then I'm actually installing that the wrong way. These go just like this. And make sure you apply straight down pressure on it, your clips will snap in. Probably should have peeled that before sticking that on, but yeah, it's just a very nice aesthetic kind of gloss piano black. Okay, just like that, we got our RAM installed again in the furthest out slot, and then the second one with dual channel setup. If you're obviously running 4, you'd obviously pop into all of them. For our application, most people, you want to run just dual channel with that, with just 2 sticks. And then we've got our M.2 hold down in here, which I believe we just pull back right like that. And there we go. We got a couple of thermal pads on here. Yes, that is what those little clips I was seeing are. Okay, so yeah, here's our drive. Yeah, that just slides back, and then you just push it right down on there and slide it forward. And you're all good to go. So again, you're going to want to make sure, at least on this board here, we're peeling back the adhesive. We'll get our drive on in there, and then we'll get the cover back on for that. I don't quite remember if you need a drive or not to do a test boot. I don't believe you do, but I figured we'll just get it on in. It always amazes me as to how small these drives actually are. Like, that is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers long, and this is a normal size drive. You got 4 terabytes of storage on there with that. Very simple. Just gonna put it down on in there till it does that, and then we'll push it down and slot it right in just like that. And there we go. We got our drive. And again, now we're just gonna get our thermal pad cover removed off of that, and then we will get this back on down right in here. I'm trying to get this lined up right away because this is sticky, so it's going to want to stick down. There we go. Just like that, we are all good to go with that. So everything is installed on that now. So I probably should have prepped the case first, but I did do some prep work on the case. I actually made some adjustments too. We'll talk about that here in just a bit. So something I want to do is pop off. Obviously, these are tempered glass tempered glass panels. I want to make sure we keep these protected from getting broken. So I'm actually stick these in the case box. All right. So some things, like I said, I did do some modifications. I grabbed this to put the case down on. There is a corner bar in here that gets installed from the factory, chips like that to protect case. It's obviously slightly weaker, so they put that on there. You can take it off if you want to or not in this specific case. as well on the back side of the case. Same thing, side panel pops off. We actually, there is a cover that goes right here that folds open. I took it off for now, at least. I might leave it out, I might put it back on. I will see. I'm waiting to see what it looks like, kind of with all the cables and everything in there. So just something kind of clean it up a little bit to remove some extra stuff in there, but it is there if you guys do want to use. Okay, so we're gonna put the case down on styrofoam to help, again, protect it from potential damage. So something that I just noticed here as well on the motherboard is we've got a cover peel. Okay, that is not sticky. This is just solely a protectant for this. So we're just peeling that on and off. There is no I/O shield. Some motherboards you have to install an I/O shield in your case before you do anything with it. Otherwise, if you forget to put it in, it's not the end of the world, but you're just going to have kind of exposed parts there, or your edges won't be completely covered. I've already got my standoffs. In this case, you can move it up and down about from here to here. You guys can see the holes in there. I like it in the little bit higher position. With that, I think it's a little more centered in the case rather than it's more shifted to the bottom if it is in the bottom one. We should be all set to get the motherboard installed, get all 9 screws in, and continue on from there with the cooler, which is going to end up going on the top, which you guys will also see why with that. This case also comes with a center screw, which there's 9 all the way around. You have your center screw right in here. This one has a little kind of lip around the screw, so it actually can set into the hole of the motherboard. So like that, it's holding itself in place. Everything is nice and lined up. You gotta obviously make sure that you're installing your screws, not completely tighten them down. You want to install all 9, then tighten them down after the fact. So we've got our nice little case of screws in here that came with our case. We got all of our screws right here for the different accessories between the motherboard and the power supply. Okay, so we need our 9 motherboard screws, which are these little flange head. You want to make sure that you're using the right screws as well that are meant to be in the standoffs, because there's definitely different length and thread pitch screws that you're going to be receiving with your case and various components, especially when it comes to radiators, because you can punch through a radiator fairly easily. It's just a pretty thin copper. Having a magnetic tip screwdriver also helps with this. I'd say that, and mine kind of is, kind of isn't. Okay, hopefully this works a little better. It also should have a better magnetic tip than my other one does, so yeah, that's definitely a lot better. Also, guys, another modification I want to mention that I did to the case is this case does have an I/O that can be moved between here, down on the bottom here, and that's it. So the 3. It's got 2 USB 3.0 ports, USB-C, and a HD audio headphone jack combo, mic jack combo, and I removed it because it'll help us with a little bit less clutter in the back of cables. I don't really have a use for it. Everything I run is off USB, which is going to be all the USB ports in the back. So I don't really have a need for that in any way, at least as of right now, and I can always add it back in later on. But again, it just kind of keeps things a little cleaner. Otherwise, I would have more connectors down here that I just really don't need and don't really want to have. So that's the reason behind it, but it is there. And also Lian does sell external ones. You can buy extra ones of those, so you have another set if you need even more of them on your case. Okay, something I want to do while we're here too is removing the top 2 PCI expansion covers, because we're going to be needing to remove these for the graphics card to go in. So I figured we may as well right away. And again, you want to save these just in case you ever change things up or get rid of the case or whatever it may be. It's always a good idea to have them laying around and either have that or just some extras. They're pretty universal. Oh, I just noticed too, this is all open. Usually these are kind of divided up by a little bar. So that's kind of nice. I kind of like having the openness, because then you don't have that blocking from the graphics card area. Alright, now with the motherboard and everything installed in there, we got, again, CPU done, RAM done, and our SSD is in, so we're all set with all that. All we need to do now is just get our CPU cooler on there, and then we can technically do a test boot on this. We're all set and ready to go with that. We honestly have a big chunk of this already done. And then we'll start installing some of our fans and everything and hope that everything goes good. With that, there also is a removable filter on here. That's another reason why I wanted to get rid of that I/O. Again, you guys can kind of see a little better here. This is where they would attach to with that, and then it runs into here. So just kind of blocks all this too. So I do plan on running this, so I'd like to have this easily accessible to remove from the side if I want to, or the front. And that just makes that much easier without that on there. So that's another reason why I didn't want to have that there. So we're going to get our new cooler installed then. Which again, this is the Lian Hydro Shift LCD 360. They do actually, this is a fanless model. They do sell this in the TL version as well, but it's a different kind of fan. It's the wired version, the older style, as well as I believe that they have a couple different options of a black, a white, just a straight white or black with no RGB, and a simpler RGB that's a little bit cheaper. This one, honestly, it's about $100 cheaper than the TL version, and then you can put whatever fans you want on it. So getting into this, we've got one of our covers. This is going to be for some of the hosing. You guys will see that here in just a bit. We've got a box of hardware here. Yep, get all of our mounting hardware. We got like our Intel platform that we're going to need. We also have our AMD stuff if you're running AMD. With that, obviously it supports all the Intel and AMD socket types. We've also got a little bit of thermal paste and a scraper. I'm going to run this thermal paste for now. I might switch it up for something here in the future, but I think it'll be alright for now for us. We're not really pushing this too hard, especially only having a 4070 Ti Super. We're not pushing the, again, the CPU to its kind of max with that. Obviously, some rendering videos and everything like that is pretty CPU intensive, so we will see with that. But yeah, here's our Intel. It says 1700, but it should be good for our 18 something is the pinout on that. And then we also get a nice little cover. It's actually going to, where the CPU is, it's going to slot down over it and cover up all of our mounting hardware with that. And just give it a really nice clean look with this. Alright, and then getting into the actual radiator and block side of things. We get our plastic removed from here. So you guys can see we got a, we need to remember to peel this back anytime you're installing a CPU cooler. If there is a cover like that or plastic like that, you need to remove it, otherwise it will not work for you, or you will lose significant performance cooling from it. And here is our radiator then. We need to actually pull this out. Oops. Probably not the best idea to hold it by the tubing like that, but this is the other cover. So if this is obviously reversible, so these tubing can either be fully exposed if you need extra length out of it, or they can be covered up on either side of whichever way you need with that. And then we got all of our connections here. So we just have a PWM fan header. Just need to plug that somewhere in. I've seen people say that you need to plug it into just a normal fan header on the motherboard. I feel like you want to plug it into the CPU fan, or there's a pump alt, I believe, on my board. Yeah, I've got a bunch of headers up on top, so I'm assuming that one of them is probably the CPU fan, maybe another CPU fan, and a pump AO. So I'm going to have to look that up to see which one we want to actually connect this to. But and then we also have, again guys, USB header. This is for the screen on here, which you guys can see is going to be that, so we can customize that to however we want with that, which should be really awesome. So I got to figure out how to install all of this and make sure that we get everything right. So I'm going to do that real quick and see what we need here. Okay, so I think I have a good idea of what we're doing with this then. We actually got to open up our first box of fans here. So we're going to be mounting these first. Obviously the radiator is going to be going, fans are going to be going down here, and the radiator will bolt from the case to the other side of this for that. So we are going to get this, like I said, opened on up, and with these ones you actually need, so there's the individual packs or the 3 packs like this. The individual packs is just the fan itself. These have, the 3 packs have the wireless controller that you need to actually control these. So if you are doing these at all, you need to do a little bit of research. You need at least one 3-pack or buying the controller on its own, one of the two. The controller you get, it's like 20 bucks or so if you need it, or again, just getting the 3-pack will do the trick with that, which I'll show you guys what that looks like here in just a moment. We've also got our little breakout cables. We are going to need these because these are, what they do is they plug into SATA. The fans themselves still take your normal 12 volt power with this, and then sometimes the headers on your motherboard will have a ramp up, so they aren't the greatest for these fans. These, you can just use one of these. Obviously this will power all 3 fans. We have a total of 10 fans in the case, so we're going to need to run 4 of these, unfortunately. But unless we want to run one fan maybe on its own, potentially. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're going to need 3 or 4 of these. In the case RGB itself needs one of these also. And I think all of the cables run off the power supply to 4. So I might run 1 fan off of one of the headers on the motherboard. We will see with that. So you have that. You also get your connector to go along with it, which this guy will connect everything that you need for this. So since this one is the non-LCD, these are just the normal fans. They don't have the screens on them. All you have is just your connector here that just goes again to your 12-volt power, which again we're going to power into this. You know what? That's right though. These we are powering 3. Most of them are 3 fans on its own. Yeah, we would still need actually, I guess, 2 of these. So each one of these we could power 3 fans, which are going to be having 3 on the side, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and 1 on the back. So maybe the back one will power from a header on the motherboard. We will see with that. But we got some screws, some more screws. Here is our controller, which this also has a couple different ways that we can mount this here as well. And again, these are the wireless fans. These are new, pretty new. They came out about 2 months ago or 3 months ago from Lian. And what this does is you can either plug this into the, say, a USB port on the back of the motherboard, or you can run the cable that plugs into here that will then break out to a USB header along with, again, a PWM signal, which you're going to plug into the motherboard for that, because this is what's going to help control. You can also then sync it up with your motherboard PWM. Or I believe you might not need to have this connected. I can't remember. We'll have to look into that here in the future with this. But again, definitely need the power. Actually, I could probably look into this or any instructions online or in a manual. So yeah, it looks like we're going to need to actually plug this into a PWM on the motherboard for that, at least from the looks of it. I think if we were to plug this directly into the back of the motherboard with just the USB on it, we wouldn't need to. But I think with this using a header, I think we're going to need to. The good thing is, again, we have that splitter on our power supply, so I'm planning on making use of that for sure with that. So I'm definitely excited for that. So we're gonna get these all on. The really nice thing with these two is these fans, you guys can see, they actually connect right up with each other. I can obviously just make sure that I get these all out of the way, which I want to be careful again because these are nice looking on there. I don't want to get them dirtied up. So they will just slot in with each other, and then you have all your connections right there with that. So there we go. We got all of our fans, and then all we need to do with this, wherever right here, is going to be connecting this right onto the pogo pins right on here that will slot in there, which this only goes on one way, so you need to make sure that you don't force it. You can, there we go, you can also pop this off and flip this around to the other side, so that way you can have this being fed out from this side if needed. But yeah, I believe we're going to be feeding that in from that side, so I think I might need to pop this cover off, and that way everything's going to feed inside of there, and then we'll have everything feed behind the motherboard tray for a nice clean look. Okay, there we go. So this just pops right off there. A little scary, honestly. But yeah, so, well, maybe that's not going to fit. It's a little tight. Not gonna lie, but yeah, I need to pop off all of these covers on this, on both sides, and we put these ones back in for a nice clean look after the fact. Nice thing too is this is hardware from the radiator. Comes with some really nice, like, I think it's nice aluminum. It's nice powder coated aluminum hardware with that. One thing I'm honestly a little bit disappointed with this is really tight with this, and obviously this is Lian fans, Lian radiator. So I'm really surprised that this is such a tight fit for this, and I was honestly thinking that the wiring was going to be able to go over here, but unfortunately with the layout of the fans, it's not able to. If I was to flip it around, I would have room right in here. You guys can see there's the connectors in here, but when it's reversed, it's right up against here. So the radiator hoses are already super close to that, and unfortunately it's not going to work with that. Just like I said, this is already really tight getting this in there, so I don't even know how you're supposed to even do that then, otherwise if not. Okay, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take off these little brackets here because this is actually fighting me too much to even get this on there. So, like I said, a little disappointed with that, not going to lie. Not that it's a big deal. Once it's on, it's fine. But just getting it there, it's a little tricky. Like, this is even like slightly kinked. I don't want to be careful with that, not to bend that around too much and kink that, because that could pose as an issue then if I were to. Alright, so there we go. Now I just need to get this attached back on, which I don't know if I can do, so that the cooler did come with another little clip, which there is 3 mounting points for it. I don't know if I can put all 3 on. I would assume I could, because this is kind of the designated way that Lian is wanting you to use this cooler. You can obviously use it like this, but then also it's a good idea to just attach it on like so. So you guys can see we got a bunch of different mounting locations. Probably going to use the 2 that were there, and then also that one right there. In worst case, we can take it back off. Okay, so there we go. You guys can see we got all those on. I think we're about ready to get this on into the case now. I don't really know what the best way is going to be for this, because obviously got to get it mounted up into the case, but also getting the CPU cooler down on there. So I'm thinking leaving it on the side like this, and then probably installing the radiator onto here, and then we'll get the cooler on with it. Can at least, we also need to get access to the back side to get the plate on, which I guess what I could do would be go on the back side, because this has some adhesive onto it, so I can peel those off, stick it on there, and then we can lay it back down flat. So I think that actually might be the better play to go with that. But I am going to get our little beauty shield back on here. I will say that is a really good looking cooler with that. Everything fits nice and tight right in there. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side here, and then you guys can look at that more. There is also a little cable, or a little hose comb kind of thing, so we can use that. Actually, a couple of them there, so we can use those if we want to. It looks as simple as we just got to peel these on off here to expose the adhesive. And then we just got to stick it right on through. I say that, yet there is a little bracket for cable management that's in the way. Okay, so yeah, you guys can see this was what was in the way before. I had to remove both this, and now we got the back plate installed in there. Now we can lay it back flat down. This is what I was talking about as well before, the SATA cable, and just look how nice and clean this is. We got our front panel connectors. We got the ARGB header for the RGB strips on the case, and that's about it. So that's where everything is much cleaner without those additional I/O cables in there that we really don't need. And this is also what we're saving, not having cable connected here, and having to make its way around with that. We're just going to have our cables here, our EPS up there, and then we're going to have a few down here, and that'll be about it for cables on the motherboard, which will keep this thing nice and clean looking with that. I think I'm going to wait to apply the thermal paste as well until we get the cooler actually in, make sure everything's good. That way I'm not having to pull it back apart. Yeah, I think we're about good. Just trying to see if there's anything else that I'm missing here. Oh yeah, that's going to be nice and clean. If I really needed to as well, I could remove this top panel. It looks like it comes off fairly easily. I think we're going to leave it alone for now though. Oh, you know what? We need to get our EPS cables in, because that's going to be impossible with that in there to get those on. Okay guys, we got our cables that we need. We also have some actually really nice Velcro cable ties that we can use for cable management later on. But again, this board has 2 EPS motherboard cables, so we're going to be using both of them. We also have some cable cones with these, which is honestly really nice. Same with obviously this one. Going to both plug into, so this one is a split as well if you need, so it'll split up, break off into 2 4s. So if you have like a 4 and a 6, or an 8 and a 4, you can do that. Or again, mine has 2 8 pins, so we're making use of both of those. So we're going to be plugging our first cables into here now. I'll make sure you get these clicked in nice and good too. Like, I just honestly struggle a little bit to actually get that fully on. I kind of push down the clip itself just to get that to work. You don't want to wrangle too hard on, and be breaking your connectors off. The only tricky part is those kind of get in our way too, but we kind of need to get them in before we fill this area in up top, up here. I think we should be able to get this in very nicely with this. And the unfortunate bit is it might be a little too close. That might have been a good reason to put the motherboard down further. Oh boy, this might actually not fit with this giant VRM cooler that we've got on this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to remove at least this first connector, first one in here. Okay, there we go. That's how that's gonna work then. Yeah, so that'll fit now. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit tight, but it'll fit for sure. Little finagling around will be good. And again, we got our connector here for the fans, 12 volt power. Just get that fed back through the same grommet that we've got the UPS power in. And that's basically non-existent from view, so that is awesome. Now the only downside to this too is all the cables for this are right attached to the actual pump head and everything, and the screen here. So definitely very much in view with all of that. So not a huge fan of that, but you can kind of hide it behind the pump tubing, or the tubing just a little bit, but it's a little bit seen with that, but that's all right. We'll find a nice way for that. Something we need to do before we forget also is we need to attach these 4 plastic spacers. Again, these little plastic spacers that get held on very nicely. Just before I forget about this, I'm just going to peel this off. Again, make sure to peel that off if you guys are doing any kind of coolers. I still need to fully mount the radiator, but we're going to leave that alone until I get this in so I can adjust that a little more. Get our thermal paste on here, get that spread. In worst case, if I screw this up, I got some other thermal paste here as well. Trying to squeeze out every little bit out of this because that's what this is meant to be, a one-time use in this little itty bitty gram syringe with that. So you want to make sure you use all of it if your cooler comes with something like that. And again, we're going to grab a little spreader, get this spread nicely around here. Try to avoid getting it everywhere if you can, or anywhere. Alright, I'm so sorry about that, guys. I just noticed my GoPro just died, and I went to go look at my footage on the phone camera that I'm recording over here with, and my phone's been dead for the last like 20 minutes. So GoPro's been running this entire time with that, but unfortunately the footage from this point of view is not going to be there for a little bit. So hopefully everything's good now. We've got, again, working on thermal paste here, getting this all nice and spread on out here, making sure that we get a nice even coat on all of this. That way we can get this on here and tighten down, and the thermal paste will spread evenly across whatever you don't get with the little spreader. Your main die of the CPU is going to be right in the middle with this. So as long as you get the bulk majority, especially in the middle, you're pretty okay with just that then. Obviously you want to get every bit of it that you can, especially with a large cooling die that you have on your cooler. You want to make use of it. What I'm trying to say there. So there we go. We got basically every little bit of that covered. So we are good with that. We're gonna actually put this back in the bag so we, for one, can save a little bit of paste on there if we need it. It'll and 2, just keep it clean so it's not getting everywhere. But anyway, so we are going to get this on down here now. Again, we got all the paste on there. We are good to go with that. And for whatever reason, if we need to do a good job, we can always add it. We can pull this off, redo it. Worst case scenario if we need to. I want to see. I think we're all good with all of this. We should be able to just. Ooh, that is close. That is up against those VRMs. The VRM cooler right here. I don't know if you guys can see that at all, but that is right up against that and almost caused an issue with that. So you want to do this in a nice cross pattern here as well, so you're not cranking down on one side or another. You're applying even pressure across the CPU, spread out the paste nice and evenly. So you just kind of want to go back and forth, walking it around until it tightens up. You don't want to over crank it. They will bottom out and stop when it needs to. And see, like that just bottoms out right there. So again, you don't want to go too crazy on it. Just a snug is all you need with this. It's not going anywhere. You give it a slap on it, that ain't going nowhere. You do not want to break one of these studs off from that backplate that we put on. That would be very bad. Okay. And just like that, our CPU cooler is installed, and technically we are ready for a boot if we wanted to with this. I think what we're going to do here is, I think I'm going to get the rest of the system built, and then we're just going to fire it up after everything's all together with it. I'm pretty confident in that. I know it's a bad way to go about it. I probably should do a test boot, make sure everything posts with it, but I think we're okay with that, honestly. I think we're pretty good. I think we can try to get, make sure that these lines are all nice and clean. So we're going to do our nice little cable cones. I just realized that this is for this to go back behind that. That is actually really slick. I was wondering what that was going to be for. And that is exactly what that's for. I'm going to attach that to the back one. There's 2 different places for that to go. I also need to attach the rest of the radiator screws for the case there also, but we can get that here in just a bit. So there's that. We can also get a nice little cover with this. And there we go. That is beautiful. That is truly a beautiful setup right there. I'm super stoked with that. So now we just need to get the rest of this cable managed, ran through and everything. This needs to go to the back of the case where the PSU, the power supply, is going to be, which we got a nice little grommet right here to get this fed on back through. I think I'm actually going to pick this on up here. We're going to get this stood up where you guys can see a little better too with what's going on with this. Honestly, that is just such a clean, slick look. That's where I love the RAM with that. It honestly fits that perfectly with that. But yeah, so then we just need to plug this into, so this end one up over here, I don't know if you guys can see it at all. That is a just a normal case fan, PWM header right there. So we're going to use that. These other 3, if I'm not mistaken, just looking at my motherboard manual, if you guys can see that at all, these 3 are going to be for CPU fan, CPU optional, and AIO pump. And again, looking at, I'm going to do some more research online, but looking at the manual for the cooler, it suggests a case fan header with that. So that's what we're going to roll with for that. You guys can see, so we got a screen here, screen here. We're going to have the screens on the fans as well. This is a baller setup. I love this. This is so awesome. I think I'm just going to route this again back behind there and just sneak it back out and plug it in to that port right there then. I think that's going to be the best way, and I'll just cable manage it on the backside with this. It's one of the really nice things with this case is we have tons of room with it being a dual chamber case for whatever we need for cable managing. Also, I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, I'll probably not. This has like a nice brush stroke finish on all these extra little panels that run along the sides of the glass and the mesh, and it honestly looks really darn good. I'm super happy with that. Yeah, honestly, that fits perfectly right up to the furthest front of that. So that's what we're gonna roll with and stick with on this. So I'm gonna stick, honestly, probably just the remainder of the screws in just so I don't lose them. Honestly, it's probably the best, safest place for them to be is in the case where they're actually gonna be used. But I think we're basically ready to probably install, honestly, the rest of the case fans and the power supply. And then that'll basically about wrap this up as far as everything that needs to be done for this before we can boot it up. So I've got a couple extra monitors actually that, or at least one, obviously I gotta get the graphics card in too. That's another exciting bit with that. But we gotta get that on in, and then get it plugged in, get it tested, and get at least booted into the BIOS, and that'll probably be good, at least for tonight on this. It's getting a little late on this. I'm recording this here during the week, so obviously I gotta work. I work today and I gotta work tomorrow also, so I can't stay up too late with all of this, but definitely want to at least try to get this booted up tonight, and then get things probably up and running, actually installed into Windows and everything here tomorrow with all of this. This idea, it's kind of the whole bad juju of installing panels back on before actually getting everything booted up and making sure it's all up and running right, but I feel pretty confident in this. I know famous last words, probably shouldn't be saying that. Like I said, we are actually ready. I'm just going to throw the top panel back on, get this one step closer to being done with this, which honestly I'm a little sad. I really do enjoy building computers. I truly do. It's a lot of fun for me, and just getting to put something like this together is honestly a blast for me with this, and I'm really excited to start peeling off some of these plastic protectors. We got plastic on here, all those fans, and a whole lot more. So I think, like I said, I think we're ready to start installing some case fans, which, because we got everything on in here that really is crucial, short of, I guess, the front panel connectors and things like that, which might get a little trickier to install with the fans in there. So honestly, I might just go ahead and do that real quick. There's only a couple. Again, now with less things in here to worry about without that front I/O connector, we really don't have a whole lot. You got a RGB header that could be one of, so we are good with that. So honestly, I'll probably put those at the bottom, because otherwise the only other option would be at the top, and I'd rather keep, I guess, our cables down towards the bottom there if we can. So again, we got our front panel connector, which now is very nice because they put them in pretty much a harness style header connector, just like that. So everything is, I mean, that's that already. I remember when I built my first computer, it was all individual tiny little cables. Even some of them were just individual one wire connectors. So you had to plug in each one, figure out which one was which. It was a bit of a pain, honestly. But so really glad that's kind of been foregone now and changed for the better for that. And then we just got our ARGB header to plug in here, which is going to come out of this big grommet right here. Which, funny enough, I've actually never plugged one of these in before. I've messed with case fans and computers quite a bit, but I've never had an actual true RGB. It's keyed, so it can only go in one way. There we go. Okay. That was just a little tougher than I expected with that, but that's all right. So yeah, there we go. We got the two on the bottom, and obviously our graphics card is going to go up here, kind of cover some of that up. It's going to be a little bit seen, but that's okay. Once we get that, 50 series card, it's going to take up about 3-4 slots. You're not going to see them. So that, you guys can see these up here maybe a little bit, kind of nice and hidden in here. That honestly looks really clean, especially with the cable combs. Got all of those and kind of try to keep those straight. Looks really good. And then again, I guess, yeah, we're about ready for all the case fans, which we got a lot to unbox. I've got 7 other case fans, and they're all individual. So we'll get our case fan on the back, 3 on the bottom, and then the 3 on the side right there. So I'm going to slide this off to the side just a little bit, give us some extra space here to unbox the rest of this, and then we're going to start going through all of this now. Okay, so this is also our first LCD. So this is a LCD screen in the middle here, so we can put on when we want to. It stays obviously stable or stationary while the fan blades spin around it. And we can put whatever we want. We can put temperatures, we can put information like CPU or GPU, utilization. We can put little GIFs, pictures, photos, whatever we want on them to kind of personalize it. It's really cool. Honestly, they're pretty much identical, except for we've got an additional connector now on here, which I had mentioned to you guys before, that we now have the same connector on here. It's, I guess, slightly different. You have some different pins in here, as well as you have a USB header on there now. So you'd have to either plug it into a motherboard USB header, which we have 2 on this board, so we'd run out of them after 1 fan, or you can connect up to 3 together and still run off of one connector, just like we did the top fans with that, with just the 12-volt power. But that's one of the big things for the Lian Edge PSU is you have the built-in fan hub or USB hub on there. So obviously it takes 1 and expands that to 4 USB hubs from your board, so you're not running out of space with that. So that's a big help with that. So again, same thing. We just basically would plug this right onto here, get that right going on there, slot that into there till that stops, and there you go, just like that. And again, you got your connectors, you can slot more onto each other, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with these guys right here for the back wall, side wall there. So this will go in kind of right in here, like probably like this. We'll probably run it up top so we can get the wire going up and out of there, just so it stays clean. But I'm going to get, this is going to be on its own anyway, so that's fine. I'm going to get the remainder of these unboxed, and then we'll get them all in the case. Okay guys, as we just finished this up, obviously I don't need to be removing the top covers because we're just going to be using the small short screws to mount through the back, through the bottom, through the side, so we're not actually mounting them all the way through into the radiator or anything like that. It's like we did on the top. So that's where I'm just pulling off the backs of these, and you guys probably can see kind of the difference of these fans. So like this is the reverse blade. This is our standard one that pushes air through, where this one pulls air through with that, so you can keep a nice look with that. And then this is reverse as well, yes, the reverse as well with that, and obviously the non-LCD version of that. So we are going to go ahead and get, I guess, these connected up together. I'll get the connectors on these as well, and then we can get another step in the right direction with this. So I just got to peel these all back here because that's going to get in the way of us trying to peel these back here once we get them all connected. So I want to make sure that we do it now and not later on struggle more. That's a great way to mess up a brand new fan. Brand new, very expensive fan. Okay, there we go. So we got all these put together now. You can connect up to, I believe it's 4 of these and 3 of the LCDs, or potentially 4 of the LCDs together in one strip and still run off of one connector with all that. And again, we don't need these other 2 for either of these, so we can get rid of both of these. We've got our normal, this is our LCD screen connector. Again, it's got the USB header on there. So again, we're going to have a USB header for this, USB header for that one. Because again, that one's getting separated from this one, so we can't have it together anyways. And yeah, so we got all of that. Thinking, I guess honestly, it really doesn't matter whether we do top or bottom. For this, it just depends on the wiring here. Which honestly, I'm leaning towards the bottom because we've got the pass-through that's the case connectors go through, or case cables. So I think that we do on the bottom for those, which we need to use the pogos for that. And again, that's going to go like this. So then this guy is going to go right down here, which I do want to show you guys the difference of the connectors itself, if there is. Actually, I don't know if there is any difference with these connectors. They might be the same, they just don't have the pin or the wires coming out, but the connector itself might be the same. Yeah, you know what, I was wrong. So these are actually the same, identical. It's just obviously the connect cables coming out of them that are different with all of that. So that's definitely interesting. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get, actually that's already the right way around. So this is perfect, as our customers in grocery store sim would say. Okay, so there we go. Got that on there. We're all set, ready to go with that. That's gonna go right down in there like that, which we'll get that mounted in just a moment. I'm just gonna loosen up our cable here, make sure we can route it appropriately, and then we just need to get some screws out to help us out with that. Again, I think I'm just going to install all of them. It's not really needed, but is it nice to have? Yeah, why not? We got the screws. We may as well use them. Yeah, that honestly works really nicely. That's where I really like Lian in these cases. I've never actually worked in one before, but they definitely put in a lot of thought and effort into everything that goes in them. Just seeing this. So I'm going to try to center it as best as possible. I think that'd be best. Honestly, I don't even need... I can use my nice ratchet new screwdriver here. Yeah, that's where I'm glad that we're doing all the screws. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it actually is flexing away from the... it's actually flexing away from the bracket. Honestly, I think we got a pretty good spot right there as it sits, because it kind of sits about flat with that, and once you get the bottom fans in there, you'll sit about pretty good with that. So I think I'm good with that. So let's pull it back out here. We'll get all of the screws in. Obviously, that's kind of necessary then, seeing what this looks like. I'm going to loosen these on up here, because I think I'm just like pressing down too hard on it or something. I'm going to go, I guess, start at the bottom and work up. Yeah, it's a little better. For whatever reason, it just has like a slight little flex to it, so I tightened in the middle ones first. I'm really glad, like I said, doing all of them, because it obviously would be pulling on the connectors. Hopefully that helps a little bit, so it's not so bad. So get this fed back in and go from there. With that one done, we are going to, I think, just do the back one here quick. Knock that one out, and then we'll get the bottom ones in, and we should be all set and ready to go for a power supply. And that's honestly about it. We got to get our controller installed here too, so we got to not forget about that. That can go honestly pretty much anywhere. We just need to get it hooked up to the USB hub, which again is going to go onto the USB hub on the power supply, and then get the PWM hooked up to, like I said, probably one of the headers right down here, just to keep everything kind of cables together on the motherboard. Even that's a bit of a squeeze to get this in next to, up against the motherboard. I'm actually a little bit surprised with that. I would have expected a bit more space. I can see why I've seen people ask in the forums, can you fit a 140 on the back of here? And this is only 120. I can definitely understand why you cannot fit a 140, because that is right up against that. And I just realized I did not peel the plastic off of that. I guess I'll just leave the plastic. Oh, we need to peel the plastic on this. I was trying to save all this for the end so we can keep it clean, but worst case we can clean it up if we need to. Good thing is we got all this adjustability too. I can slot this all the way up and down here. And oh, that actually kind of blocks our Maximus logo there. I'm actually a little disappointed with that. Yeah, I'm thinking all the way up. That way we can hide the cables a little better too. And then it kind of lines up with all the rest of the case fans being close to other ones. Like I said, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that we're covering up the Maximus logo, because I think that does light up. I know obviously this is a mirror, but that does light up, so it will be there. You guys probably can see yourselves. Okay, so anyways, we got that all on in there. Again, we just got to cable manage all that. Nice thing with this is it's the same kind of thing. We can easily pop this on out, and then we can get at our tray here for these ones. So this just pops right up and out there. I'm going to be careful not to damage any of our connectors there. Yeah, I think I'll go at the back with these ones, which means that I need to do our connector like this, which means that this actually lines up once again with the way it's already set up. So the only one I had to adjust was our cooler fans. Those are the only ones I had to spin around. Otherwise, everything else was good to go right away. And since I'm remembering this, I'm just going to pop off these ones right now for the mirrors, and I'll leave the front ones for last so they don't get real dirty here. Yeah, once again, we got quite a bit of adjustability with this. You can fit up to a 420mm set of fans in here, 140s on here, and the top. The only ones you can't is on the side with this, but that's all right. I kind of wish that this was like cut out right here, like maybe not have so much meat right here so you can see whatever we have for a fan here, especially we have the little infinity mirrors on these. So a little disappointed by that. I kind of was hoping to be able to see that, but that's okay. kind of have the whole mirror look going with this build, and I like it. Once again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set it up with just 4 screws, tighten it up, kind of centered, and we'll see where it ends up and where we like it with that, and go from there, and then we'll adjust it. Honestly, I think it's pretty good. I think centered is kind of the way to go with that. I think it looks pretty good with all of that. So, yeah, this is definitely the way to go with this too. That way, that gets nice and covered up there. But yeah, I think I'm going to pop it back on out here. I got to figure out what is stopping that from going all the way in, but that's fine. We didn't need that to go all the way on anyways. So we got to get this all adjusted on there. I'm going to loosen these ones up just a little bit so we can move this around, because I see it's just slightly crooked. Okay, there we go. Got that back in now. Get the thumb screw, keeps it held in place. I think that's about everything on the front here except for our graphics card. So we got that. We also again need to find a place for this, which again, I'm not putting it on the back. I'm not plugging it into the back of the motherboard. I'm gonna do the actual header thing. So I think honestly I'm just going to route this right up on through here. This is a chassis fan right here, so that needs to go right there, which means that I actually need to pull this back on through and get this routed to the other grommets. There we go. That works, and then we'll just have the other header right there, which I'm actually going to grab. I think we're all ready. We'll throw in the graphics card, we'll unbox that, throw that in, and we'll get our power supply in, and that is hook up all of our cables, get our cables ran, and that's about it. That's pretty much everything right there then. Gotta still plug this in. I've already got our cables out, so we got our 24 pin, we've got our 12 volt high power, we've got our other PCI Express cable, which is going to go into there right next to our 24 pin, and then all we need is just some SATA power, and that is that. Oh, here we go. This. This thing, I'll be honest with you guys, I paid about $800 for this thing. It's now worth about anywhere between $1,200 and $1,600, which is just insane. So as soon as I cut this, we're losing like $800 bucks. Could still probably sell it in the used market for quite a bit with that, which is just mind-boggling to me that they've gone up that much. Ooh, nice and pretty. In search of incredible. We got a nice little booklet here. I'm assuming that's just going to be like our manual, stuff like that. Got some packing here. And then we've got our adapter cable, 12 volt high power to 2 PCI Express cables. We're not going to be using that, so I'm going to put that back. And we got our graphics card right here sitting in the anti-static bag. So funny enough, these bags inside, they're anti-static. The outside is actually very conductive. Not maybe very conductive, but it is conductive. Ooh, we got more peels. Got more things to peel. Got the bottom side here as well as the top side with that. That's actually, that honestly is a really good looking card though. It's pretty small, barely over a 2-slot card. It's like 2 1/4, if that, maybe 2 1/2. Then we got some covers, and it doesn't stand very tall above the slots here also. So it's not a very big card. It's not very heavy. I've not actually held one of the massive like 3-4 slot cards yet, but I've been told they're very heavy, and I've seen how heavy they are. I'm going to leave the one on the bottom side here for now. We'll take our cover off. We should be able to, leave the one on the top side here, I should say. We should be able to get our card on in here. I think that's it. I didn't really have real good satisfying click or anything out of that, but I think that's good. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually coming out so much better than I expected the way this all looks. Especially like this mirror looks so much better than I ever expected that to with that. And I definitely wouldn't, I know I mentioned this before, I was not planning on getting a board this expensive, but I actually paid less for this than I paid for the lower tier board from this, the Strix board. So with the deal that I got between the bundle of this, the motherboard, and the CPU, it was actually too good not to do this instead. It truly was. But alright, anyways, we've got everything on in here now. We need to get our 2 motherboard cables there, our PCI Express, or our 12 volt high power in there, and get our power supply in. And that's about hook up a couple extra cables for our SATA power, for all of our lighting, and that's about it. We are getting so darn close with this, and I'm so happy with this right now. We got a nice blow through airflow, so we got airflow coming in. This pulls in air from the bottom. We got air coming in out from the side there, exhausting out the back and the top. So we got a nice flow with all of that, and we are about ready to go with all this. So I say we start getting some, power cables on in. Got again, same thing. Cable combs, nice braided. This is a breakout, so you can have a 20 pin. I don't know the last time I've ever seen a motherboard that's got a 20 pin on it. It's been so long. Our 12 volt high power, which has 4 combs on that, so even better for that. And again, we've got our PCI Express power that's going to be for our motherboard there. It just kind of helps provide some extra power relief for the board, because cards do draw some power through the boards as well, through the PCI slot. So I want to make sure, obviously this card's not going to be drawn anywhere close to, I want to say it's around a 300 watt card, if that even. So it might be like 275, something like that. I don't even know the exact specs with that, but so it's not a very powerful card, not compared to like a 4090, 5090, stuff like that. But obviously, may as well, if we have it, we may as well use it. So anyways, we should be good to go. I think we can honestly start getting some of this on in. We got everything put together here. Everything is not cable managed yet. Definitely stuff to do all of that. But it is very late here. I want to just get this thing fired on up. So we're going to get a monitor plugged in here. We're going to fire this thing on up, see what happens with it. Fingers crossed everything posts well. We get into the BIOS with all this. I do need to grab a keyboard so we can get into the BIOS and make sure everything's good with all that. Everything is showing up with our RAM and our storage with that. So hopefully good. Fingers crossed. Wish me luck. with this, but we should be good to go with all this, but I'm excited to see what this looks like. Fire this bad thing on up and see where you guys. Okay guys, moment of truth. Got a keyboard, monitors on, switch is on. Oh, I see a light. Oh, we've got some light. Oh, let's go. Look at that. That is so awesome. I see some, okay, that is actually really awesome. That must be like the display. Okay guys, I think I just figured out why my phone stopped recording. I think my phone ran out of storage. I just cleared a few things off. We got a little bit of space left right now. We just got everything hooked up. I have not fired up. I'll switch on. We can see we've got a beautiful little screen there on the motherboard. We're about to fire it up for the first time. The GoPro's been running, so we're good with that at least. But here we go. You guys can see we got light and everything is good to go. Oh, let's go. Okay, so the fan's fired on. Well, the lighting's still on. We've not gotten a post yet. Okay, I think it's going through training. I see some codes popping through. It's getting stuck on something here. Oh, I think it's still going. Oh, we got a screen. Let's go. We got a BIOS. All right, baby. That is awesome. We are posted in. Total memory. We got 48 gigs. New CPUs is installed. Okay, can we get into the BIOS here? I just want to make sure our storage, into the BIOS, set up F1. I don't know if this keyboard is going to work with this or not, being a wireless keyboard. Okay, I don't know if it's going to let me get into this with this keyboard here. Unfortunately, we've got just a wireless keyboard with this, and that's free off my desk. So I don't know if this is going to work for that, but you guys can see we are posted. I would love to get into the BIOS here, so I think we're going to try. I just remember, guys, I forgot to plug in that one fan. I was like, why is it not powering on? But that's because of that. Okay, guys, round 2 here. Got the fan plugged back in as well. There we go. Now it's powered on. Fan's working back there. Everything is working as it should. Oh yeah, look at the... Or no, that's our fan lighting up, the Maximus back there. So maybe it is just the screen. I don't know on that. Let's take a look once it posts. Here it's doing Intel memory usually doesn't take that long to post or train, do any kind of memory training like AMD has normally, but I guess maybe because the fact of it has not booted into BIOS yet, we haven't set up any of the profiles. Maybe that's all it is. There we go. Now we're able to get into the BIOS here. This is all I want to see, and then we're going to be calling a night here. There we go. Look at that. Okay. Everything's working here. Let's just see. So we got, right now for memory frequency, obviously only 5400. That's all right. Capacity, we have our 48 gigabytes that I've got in here with this. I guess I forgot to mention that while we were building this. And then, is there storage? Let's see. We just have our memory here. So here, this is our 2 fan speeds. I don't know which is which. So yeah, we'll have to take a look at that and start messing around with some of this later on. But yeah, I think, just trying to find if we have, I don't know if I have a way to check to see what storage. I know it showed up before of the full storage is there, so I guess it's working. Everything should be fine with that. So I guess we're just going to exit out of the BIOS, and we are going to call it a night, guys. So we're going to come back here tomorrow, get everything set up as far as installing Windows. So like I said, we're going to call it a night. We'll be back here in the morning, or tomorrow, I guess I got to work. But yeah, so I will see you guys then. All right, guys, so that is the build. It's actually quite a bit later. It's about a week and a half since I've had this thing up and running, which you guys can see everything is up and running good. The only thing right now is I just have the side panel off just because the reflection would be too bad on it. Otherwise, it is a glass panel. But again, the reflection would be too bad. Funny story. I don't know if I ever mentioned that these little avocados is kind of funny. They are named Austin, so that's kind of the joke with the avocado in on the screen in there. But this is the completed setup with everything. Don't mind that power cord coming down. It's all right. But yeah, got everything all cable managed. Everything's looking really good. Honestly, I am super proud of the way this thing turned out. I'm so happy with this. This thing is performing so much better than I expected. It's helping upload videos so much quicker. Rendering time is cut about in half from where I was at. And like I said, it's just an absolute beast at most of the games we play, even with that 4070 Ti Super that we have in there. Hoping eventually we can eventually upgrade that, but not the end of the world with that. Honestly, I can't complain, especially paying MSRP for it. But honestly, like I said, I am just beyond stoked with this and everything. I have got a little bit of B-roll to show you guys, kind of a nice little cinematic of what it actually looks like. And yeah, like I said, I'm just super stoked for it. It's been an amazing process building it, and it's mostly thankful to you guys as well. You guys have been a big help with this as well with that and getting this computer built, and it's been much needed. So definitely really stoked for it. So I hope that it can bump up the quality. I've been running videos on it for about the last week and a half or so, a week, and it's definitely, like I said, made a huge difference. So just a massive thank you all for watching. If you guys made it to the end of the video here with this, I still have to get this video put together and everything, and I'm hoping to have it out here soon for you guys to enjoy. But thank you all so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this, drop a like in the video. If you guys have any suggestions or any questions, I'll be happy to help answer in the comments as well. But like I said, drop a like in the video if you guys did enjoy and want to see anything more like this. And if you guys are new around here, click that subscribe button down below so you guys don't miss out on any of our other gaming videos or real life vlogs that we do here. So thank you all so much, guys. I will see you on the next one. Peace out.